Thanks for joining us as we bring you special coverage from the 2023 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show here in New Orleans. We had an incredible turnout as thousands of cattlemen and women came to Louisiana for a mix of business, education, and networking with their peers from all across the country. Attendees also had a chance to hear from the Deputy Secretary of Agriculture, Dr. Jewel Bronaugh. I'm pleased to be joined right now with the Deputy Secretary, Dr. Jewel Bronaugh. Dr. Bronaugh, thank you so much for coming to the convention, but also coming to our show and spending a few minutes with us. I want to first congratulate you and thank you for all your service to the United States Department of Agriculture. And as you transition out of this role, I'm curious, looking back over the last couple of years, what are you most proud of?
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It's just great to be here in New Orleans with NCBA and your membership. It's interesting to think about and reflect over the last 2 years of what you've done. You can imagine in this job, you hit the ground running and you literally blast out of a rocket. But then sometimes I have an opportunity to sit down and reflect a little bit more on, what have we gotten done? And there's some things that, I'm certainly proud of. One, I have to acknowledge that the Biden-Harris administration and Congress have invested historic resources into our economy, and USDA has certainly benefited from the American Rescue Plan, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the Inflation Reduction Act. Mm-hmm. It has given us an opportunity to really make investments in producers of all shapes and sizes. Mm-hmm. For me, I think about the opportunity I've had to really travel the world and raise the platform of U.S. food and agriculture. The opportunity to be able to talk about the quality products, the safest food products in the world, that we're really proud of, and just to think how we can break down some of the tariffs and the non-tariff barriers that exist within our countries. That's amazing. Visiting the UK on a trade mission, visiting East Africa on a trade mission, and just really being able to brag about the quality of products we have here in the United States. Thinking about how I've had an opportunity to help with, advance challenges with supply chain risk, looking at how we could expand processing capacity and infrastructure so that farmers and ranchers could have an opportunity to just have that supply chain, get their products to market. It's been amazing. I've spent quite a bit of time, as you can imagine, in the equity space, looking at the development of new programs with challenges like heirs property, to be able to get people to actually have the title to land that's been fractionated within their families, and to be able to apply for USDA resources in order to have more market opportunities. Sure. Spent a lot of time with young people. I have a background in education. Yep. So I have been to institutions all across this country, a lot of minority serving institutions, because I want to create a pipeline for the next generation of young people coming into USDA. And for me, as Deputy Secretary, I've been the COO of USDA. So I think a lot about how we make USDA a great place to work. And so being able to support all of our USDA staff in implementing these programs and making sure our operations work well. Mm-hmm. Those are just a few things.
Those are a lot of things, actually.
Right. So I'm really proud that we've had that opportunity, and I've been a part of that.
And I didn't realize you serve as Chief Operating Officer of USDA. And so given that perspective, as you look forward, what is it going to take for USDA to be successful in continuing to support American agriculture?
Well, really proud to work for a secretary that's as experienced as Secretary Vilsack is. And he understands the fact that we have to keep going. Yeah. He never lets us stop. As we think about preparing for the next Farm Bill, Secretary Vilsack has talked about, there's been kind of a thought of you either go big or you get out, right? Right. And really, we understand that in many aspects that's necessary. Mm-hmm. But what about your smaller producers and mid-sized producers who, if they had opportunities, they could be successful as well? Mm-hmm. So again, I talked about the historic investments that we've had at USDA, the fact that we can create more market opportunities at USDA, the fact that we can create more fair and better markets, the fact that we have an opportunity through programs like the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities that farmers can create new market streams, but also focus on greenhouse gas reductions. We have the fact that we've focused on biomanufacturing, and you can turn waste into a commodity. So really looking at how we can create more market opportunities and revenue streams for our farmers and ranchers, I think is what's going to create an opportunity for more at the table and more people to be successful.
That's really encouraging. Now, before you took this position, if I understand correctly, you served as Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And as part of that job, I know you were a champion for diversity. Why is that such a personal passion of yours, and why do you think that's so important to the agricultural industry at large as we continue to strive to feed this growing population?
And that's a great question. I can answer it from just a couple different ways. As you can imagine, being an African-American woman in this agriculture space for years, I have been in many rooms where I'm the only person that looks like me.
You bet.
But I have been privileged over the years to work with a diverse group of producers who I know bring just incredible diversity and richness in the products that are produced to the table to be able to offer more. When I was at the Department of Agriculture, it's amazing. That's kind of, if you could have a training ground for being deputy secretary, that might be kind of it.
Sure.
But it gave me some great experience and to be able to move forward with some things. It was in Virginia that we worked with the Virginia General Assembly to pull together the Virginia Food Investment Act and Fund. And it allowed for monies to go to BIPOC communities, underserved communities, and communities of color to be able to start businesses that would provide food access for underserved communities. And I brought that experience into USDA, where we're doing more work through AMS to be able to do similar programs. We also really worked in Virginia to start a Chief Diversity and Inclusion Office, and at USDA, we've been able to actually launch that.
Okay.
We have hired a new person because it's important that in any organization that people are reflective of what society looks like.
Sure.
But it's also the diversity and the types of agriculture that I think is really, really important. Because when you have different size, different types of agriculture, there's more bounty for everyone to enjoy, more opportunity for international exports, which is something that, I learned a lot from Virginia, and I do a whole lot of that here at USDA.
And it is critically important for the beef industry, I promise you that.
Yes.
Exports are top of our list. One last question for you. You've also championed the cause of farmer stress and mental health, and I'm curious, tell us a little bit more about that, because that's a topic that often isn't discussed in our industry.
I thank you for raising that. Yeah. That's too something that I brought in terms of a passion from Virginia, but USDA has really been investing in that, and it's because of USDA that many of the states have been able to focus on this issue. The issue became one that was personal to me, working with dairy farmers in my home state, because we all know our dairy industry there's 365, there's no break.
Right.
And actually hearing stories of farmers who committed suicide or were dealing with so much stress. And let me tell you something, our farmers and ranchers are the proudest people in this country. You will not hear them complain about anything. And so often the realities of the situation you don't know until it's too late sometimes.
That's right.
So USDA has really been committed to farmer and ranch stress assistance network funding. It went out regionally to 4 regions of the country in 2020. In 2021, funding went out to all 50 states through the state departments of agriculture to educate, to even provide with legal services to address this issue. So people had a place to go if they needed to talk about it. Yep. We've trained field staff folks in our field offices to kind of look to see if there's some things to be concerned about. They're trusted people sometimes, can have a conversation or help someone go to a place where they can get help. We've invested in telemedicine. That means, yeah, they're far-reaching places where people can just be in their own homes. They can get assistance, and they can be educated. And we've invested in increasing community medical facility capacity. So there are mental health programs that are now in community health facilities that we've been able to invest in. So we have made significant investment in people and in the capacity to be able to address this issue. I'm really proud to continue this work because this work is very important. So I will carry this forward.
Deputy Secretary Bronaugh, thank you so much for your service to our industry and for coming to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's important to help support the work being done for you on Capitol Hill by becoming an NCBA member. It's easy to join. Just call 866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org.